normal state. Normal state. Normal state.
The general meeting, the DARC general meeting on the air will begin in less than 2 minutes, or less than a minute. Yeah, positive.
Normal state.
The general meeting, the DARC general meeting on the air will begin in less than 2 minutes, or less than a minute. Yeah, positive.
Normal state.
The general meeting, the DARC general meeting on the air will begin in less than 2 minutes, or less than a minute.
W5FC.
The general meeting, the DARC general meeting on the air will begin in less than 2 minutes, or less than a minute.
W5FC.
General meeting, the DARC general meeting on the air will begin. Well, good evening, all. This is KFI's Bill. My name is Bill. I want to thank you for attending tonight's general meeting on the air. Should be a fun night with Tom, KE5I6, taking net control after some short business I have. So we're gonna do this a little different this morning or this evening. Got a little bit of business to go over, just so to let everybody know, and then general meeting. And then after that, then Tom will start taking check-ins and continue from there and start with the old timers night tonight. So should be a lot of fun. And so with that, hang on a little bit of business to go over, just so to let everybody know, and then general meeting. And then after that, then Tom will start taking check-ins and continue from there and start with the old timers night tonight. So should be a lot of fun. And so with that, hang on a little bit of business. Got to get some paper just in case. So with that, I know we always start the evening off with our traditional things. I want to do that again tonight. So if everybody would, just at your home, in your leisure, I'm going to say Pledge of Allegiance over the air. And because I know it's tough times and everything else, I know we always start the evening off. We should stay with our tradition and do this as well. So with that, I want to do that again tonight. So if everybody would, just sit at home and find a flag or something to go with. So Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and everything else, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sit at home and find a flag or something to go with. So pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and everything else. All right. Hopefully everybody's seen the newsletter out there and seen the newsletter minutes. Obviously, I can't take a unanimous vote, but what I can do is if anybody has any nays or corrections for the newsletter, please call. Hopefully everybody's seen the newsletter out there and seen the newsletter minutes. Obviously, I can't take a unanimous vote, but what I can do is if anybody has any nays or corrections, nothing heard there, so I will assume that newsletter minutes have been approved. Thank you very much for that. Also, the Treasurer's Report was approved by the Board, as printed in the newsletter. There's see the Treasurer's Report in the newsletter. That has been approved by the Board earlier on the online event we did earlier today. Thank you very much for that. Also, and I'm sure everybody's aware of a lot of things that have been canceled, but just in case, Mentorfest has been canceled. That was our next club event. That is newsletter. HamCom is still in flux, from what I understand. They had a couple days ago. They had 30 days to say if it was on or off again. I'm sure everybody's aware still in flux on if it's going to happen or not. So they have about 28 days left before they make the decision on that. Capcom is still in flux, from what I understand. Also, Field Day is also in flux. We're still not sure whether it's going to happen or not. A lot of us are thinking that it's not going to happen. But we're trying to find ways to adapt. The ARRL posted a note out there talking about, it's time to adapt. It was in my President's Corner, that article was. If you'd like to find the link to that, go see that. It was a pretty good article. But they talk about, always adapting to the situation, and then not the situation adapting to you. So we're looking at ways to adapt if it doesn't happen. We've been talking about maybe doing a VPNing the log books, and if it's possible to for me to be here, for somebody to be at their house, put out batteries in their go box, sit out in their front yard or in their backyard or whatever, and go under the W5FC call sign. But if that's not possible, still, everybody still has the ability to get on the radio for Field Day and make calls. Somebody to be at their house. Obviously, if we can do it as a club, let's do it as individuals and make a big showing for Field Day so that at least the event will still happen. But if that's not possible with that, so still, everybody still has the ability to get on. Another thing, since Field Day might not happen and whatnot, we had a raffle for Field Day radios. The board has decided that we're going to move that raffle from the Field Day and put it out for Winter Diner. So the Field Day raffle, same prizes, everything, except for it'll be drawn now at the Winter Diner. The board has hang on to your tickets, and we're going to continue using the same tickets, but the date has been changed now for the Winter Diner for that. Raffle, same prizes, everything, except for it'll be drawn. Also, in case you want to know, Daily Net. Tom's been doing a daily net at 10 a.m. on the 14688. Company meeting, he calls it. So get on that net if you're out there during the day and want something to do. It's been, he always comes up with a topic and everything's always been really good and informative and things you can go do. You want to know, daily, be part of I think he's got about 15 to 20 check-ins daily on that thing. So it's a fun net to do. And get on that net if you're out there during the day and want something to do. It's been, he always comes up with a topic. And then, let's see here, the April lecture in lab. We thought that was going to be canceled. David and I, KG5EIU, will be doing a live on the air, online, I should say, Google Meets, April 25th at 11 a.m. And we're going to cover WSJTX, FC8, FC4. We're going to give instructions on how to make your radio talk to that software, or your computer talk to that software, and how to make it work, some tips and tricks on that kind of thing. Don't think it's going to last more than 3 hours, but we are slated a 3-hour time slot for that on April 25th at 11 a.m. All about FC8, FC4, different radios. We've got we can help you out with different radios and different things, and get you on the air, and like make it work, tips and tricks about FC8 and FC4. So you want to join us? It's April Lecture Lab. That'll be April 25th at 11 a.m. And that posting will be out there soon on the W5. Different radios. We've got we can help you out with different radios and different things, and get you on the air. Also, a couple of last things. At the board meeting, we had a new membership, family membership, come in. It was Melissa and her daughter, KI5GRH and KI5GRG. And so I think everybody's heard her on the radio. She's been on the traffic net and things like that. She's probably be on this net as well. And but she's been a good supporter of this repeater and everything else. So the board meeting, we had board voted her in. So everybody here next time just say congratulations on being a new member and go from there.
W5FC.
So I think everybody's heard her on the radio. She's been on the traffic net and things like that. She's probably be on this. And she's been that's all I have as far as the club business. So I'm going to ask if there's any club business or announcements that need to be made before I turn this over to Tom. So if you have any announcements or anything we need to bring up to the general meeting, please come now with your call sign. Slowly, phonetically, and your name. And
November 2, Victor India Papa, Ken.
I'm going to ask if there's any club business.
November 5, Bravo Bravo, Bill.
Before I turn this over to Tom. So if you have any announcements or anything we need to bring up to the general meeting, please come now with your call sign. Slowly, phonetically. All right, we'll go with Into VIP, Ken. Welcome. What you got for us?
Victor India Papa, Ken. I talked about it briefly at the board meeting. I just wanted to do it even briefer here. I wanted to thank everybody in Dallas for their support of the Irving Amateur Radio Hamfest. It was very successful. Everybody had a great time. We raised a lot of money. And earlier this week, we mailed off a check to the DARC for $800 as their share of the proceeds after we paid for the expenses. And like I say, just wanted to thank everybody for their help for another successful event. I talked about it briefly at the board meeting. I just wanted to do it even briefer here. I wanted to everybody in Dallas.
Well, thanks for that, Ken. I know that we really thank you for that.
Everybody had a great time.
Heavy donation to the club and everything else.
Earlier this week, we mailed off
that,
a check to the
I know
DARC
that
for
a lot of people were there volunteering and stuff like that. Thank those people for volunteering and spending your time out there.
Everybody for their help for another successful event.
We'll check to come in and thank you for that, Ken. All right, next I have N5BB, Bill. Bill, what you got for us tonight?
Hi, Bill. This is N5BB. I'm the vice president of the Irving Club, as well as I was the chairman of the microgrant committee. So I have not formally discussed this with the other committee members, but I'm absolutely positive that due to the COVID-19 situation, we won't be expecting clubs to work on their projects until much later this year. So no worry about delays there. N5BB.
All right, thanks for that, Bill. Yes, I did announce it to the board that our grant, our project is on hold at the moment. We were going to buy the radios and the other parts and pieces that we needed at Hamcom, but obviously that's such in flux right now. We're still trying to decide what we're going to do as far as finishing that project up. A lot of it's already been donated and whatnot, so a lot of it's here. We're just taking the big parts, but not getting outside and all that kind of stuff. I'd much rather keep people safe than to a lot of it's already been donated and whatnot. And I want to ask KI5GRH, are you here, Melissa? Not getting outside and all that kind of stuff. Give me a shout if you're here. I'd much rather keep people safe than to a lot of it's already been donated and whatnot. And I want to ask KI5GRH, are you here, Melissa? Not getting outside and all that kind of stuff. Give me a shout if you're here. I'd much rather. Okay, I guess not. All right, anything else from the floor or on the net that needs to be brought up to the general public? Anything else, please come now to call sign phonetically in your name. Okay, I guess not. All right, anything else from the floor or on the net that needs to be brought up to the general public? Anything else, please come now to call sign phonetically in your name. Okay, I guess not. All right, anything else? All right, with that, I don't hear anything there, so thanks everybody for being here tonight. Continue on with the Old Timers Nights here. So, we're all in this thing together. Everybody work to keep America strong. Stay at home. Thanks everybody for safe tonight, and stay distant from everybody else. And wear your mask, your gloves, or whatever. We are much more vulnerable age than a lot of others out there. So let's make sure we don't want anybody to catch this bad thing and not show back up again. So let's stay safe. Stay and keep safe distance. All right, thanks everyone. And now I give it to Tom, KE5 ICX, for our presentation of Old Timers Night. Tom, if you're there, continue on and take the net. KF5 ZBL. Everyone. Now I give it to Tom, KE5 ICX.
All right, well, thank you, Bill. This is KE5ICX. My name is Tom, and I guess I'm your master of ceremonies this evening on what could probably be one of the more complicated nets we've ever done. Wouldn't it have been great if this had some other night where we didn't have to have audience participation? Yes, it would have been great. You would have had a speaker, and then that person would have handed it back to Bill, and then Bill would have given the news notes and all of that, and then we would have adjourned. But no. This had to happen on my watch where the audience are the presenters. And so I'm going to do my best on this. This in person is difficult under the best of circumstances because you want to try and get everybody in. But I think I got a plan. It'll either work or it won't. The audience are the presenters. And so I'm going to do my best on this. So let me preface, what is Old Timers Night? Well, this has been going on in April for the Dallas Amateur Radio Club for decades. And this is an opportunity frequently for our older members, but we do open it up to all members to talk about things that are of interest, why they got into the hobby. Some of the questions we always ask of people that have come to the meeting on this night would be, how did you get interested in amateur radio? Tell us something interesting or a humorous story involving amateur radio that involved you. Perhaps you can talk about your first contact that you made, or an Elmer, or someone that got you into the hobby. Those type of questions, and think about all those, because what will happen is that I'll give you an opportunity to put your call sign out at certain times. If I don't hear anything, I'm picking people. So this is how we're going to do it. An Elmer, or someone that got you into the hobby. Those type of questions, and think about all those. I'm going to check you in by groups. And by groups, I mean how long you've been in amateur radio. If you have been in amateur radio less than 5 years, I would like you to check in now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and let me know how many years. 5 years or less. Please come now. How long you've been in amateur radio. If you have been in amateur radio less than 5 years, I would like you to check in now with your call sign phonetically, your name, and let me know how many years. 5 years or less.
Kilo Golf 5, Oscar Mike Romeo, Marcia 4.
If you have been in amateur radio less than 5 years, I would like you to check in
Kilo Delta 9.
1, Kilo India 5, Delta Echo Charlie 2.
and let me know how many years. 5 years or less.
Kilo Golf 5, Oscar Mike Romeo, Marcia 4.
If you have been in amateur radio
Whiskey 5, Whiskey X-Ray Yankee, Randy.
Kilo Delta 9.
1, Kilo India 5, Delta Echo Charlie 2.
and let me know how many years. 5 years or less.
Kilo Golf 5, Oscar Mike Romeo, Marcia 4.
Whiskey 5, Whiskey X-Ray Yankee.
All right, I'm going to need a couple of fills here, but I've got everybody that has checked in. I got WT9Z, Michael, 1 year. KG5OMR, that is Marcia, 4 years. I've got a Kilo Delta 9 call. I think it was Kilo Delta 9. Would you come back with your call sign and name, please, if I got that right? I've got everybody that WT9Z, Michael, 1 year. KG5OMR, that is Marcia, 4 years. I've got a Kilo Delta 9 call. I think it was Kilo Delta 9. Would you come back with your call sign and name, please, if I got that right? I've got everybody that BT9D, Michael, 1 year.
I'm going to fill it for you, Tom. Yes, Kilo Delta 9, Echo Papa Victor. Name's Gina.
4 years.
AC9KB.
W5FC.
Kilo Delta 9 call. I think it was Kilo Delta 9. Would you come back with your call sign and name, please? Okay, very good. How many years do you know? Everybody that BT9D, Michael, 1 year.
I'm going to fill it for you, Tom. Yes, 4. Kilo Delta 9, Echo Papa Victor. Name's Gina. AC9KB.
W5FC.
All right, thanks, Gino. And you were a dead ringer for AC9KV when you had the same voice and even some of the same characters. But I got you in there. KI9 Delta India Charlie, 2 years. Could I have your name, please?
Papa Victor. Name's Gina. AC9KB.
W5FC.
All right, thanks, Gino. And you were a dead ringer for AC9KV when you had the same voice.
Kilo India 5, Delta Echo Charlie.
But I got
Greg.
you in there.
1 year.
KI9 Delta
2 years.
India Charlie, 2 years. Could I have your name, please?
Papa Victor. Name's Gina. AC9KB.
W5FC.
Okay, correction. Kilo Echo 9 Delta Echo Charlie. And would you give me your name again, please? I wrote down Charlie, but I don't think that's your name. But maybe it is.
Greg.
In there, KI9 Delta
2 years.
India Charlie, 2 years. Could I have your name, please?
This is Greg. KI5 DEC.
Okay, correction. Kilo Echo 9 Delta Echo Charlie. And would you give me your name again? All right, thank you, Greg. KI5DEC, 2 years. And W5W X-Ray Yankee, that's Randy, a half a year. Anyone else less than 5 years, please come down. Let's go on to 10 years, less than 10 years. Please come now with your call sign phonetically, your name, how many years you've been in the hobby.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Quebec Oscar Romeo, Thomas, 8 years.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Zulu Bravo Lima, Bill, 6 years.
This is Kilo Golf 5, Echo India Uniform, David. St. Paul, Texas, 6 years.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Tango Sierra Kilo, Burl, 6 years.
Whiskey Delta 5, Whiskey India November, Twin, 2 months shy of 10 years, although I got my first license in 1971.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Juliet Hotel Alpha, Chaz, a little bit more than 9 years.
Foxtrot 5, Hotel X-Ray Quebec, David, Dallas, almost 10 years.
All right, let me go ahead and get those check-ins. Echo Link, I'm going to take you separately, so hang in there. I'll get you here in the next couple of rounds. So I have, for less than 10 years, I got KF5QOR, Thomas, 8 years, KF5ZBL, our president, Bill, 6 years, KG5EIU, David, 6 years, KF5TSK, Burl, 6 years. The next call I got, I had a brain lock on this at 10 years, WD5 Whiskey something, and it never registered. Could I get your full call and name, please, with the 10-year veteran?
Whiskey Delta 5, Whiskey India November, Twin.
I should have known that. Doggone it. WD5WIN, Dwin at 10 years. KF5JHA, that's Chaz at 10 years. KF5HXQ, David, I got you over on Echolink at 10 years. Anyone at 10 years or less, please. Come now. All right, let's go ahead and continue. Less than 15 years. 15 years. Please come now with your call sign, your name, and how many years.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony, 12 years, this or last month.
Kilo Echo 5, Yankee Tango Alpha, Roger, 11 years.
November 5, Kilo Romeo Golf, Kevin, 10 years.
All right, I got NT5TM Tony at 12 years, KE5YTA Roger at 11 years, N5KRG Kevin at 10 years. Anyone at 15 years or less, please come now with your call sign, name, and how long you've been a ham radio operator. All right, I'm going to put myself, and I'm putting in Randy, who's shouting across the room. We both got 14 years, so that's KE5ICX Tom at 14 and KE5JIT Randy at 14. All right, we're going to go to 20 and then 30 years. Yes, we're going to jump to that. So less than 20 years, 20 or fewer years, please come with your call sign, name, and how many years.
Kilo Echo 5, Alpha Victor Echo. My name is Carl, Kilo Alpha Romeo Lima. 16 years, plus or minus a day.
Kilo Charlie Niner, Foxtrot Romeo Sierra, Richard, 16 years.
November 5, Uniform Oscar India, Carl, the other Carl. 19 years.
All right, I've got KE5AVE, Carl at 16 years, KC9FRS, that's Richard at 16 years, N5UOI, the other Carl, 19 years. Anyone with 19 years. Oh, you snuck in on me. Okay. I'm going to put you under the 20 or younger. Anyone else with 15 years? Oh, it is 20 years. Geez, I can't read my own handwriting. Anyone less 20 years or less? See, it's already falling apart. 20 years or less. Your call sign, name, and how many years you've been in ham radio. All right, here we go. We're going for 30 years or less. We're going to jump a decade. So 30 years or less. Please come with your call sign, your name, and how many years you've been in amateur radio.
W5FC.
N2VIP, Ken, 26 years.
Alpha Charlie 9, Kilo Victor, Romy, 27 years. And Dwayne should be 49 years per QCWA rules. AC9 KB.
This is KC5 KYM Chris, and it's 26 years.
November 5, Victor, Uniform Juliet, Roger, and I think about 30 years.
All right, I've got 4 on that one. N2 VIP, that's Ken, 26 years. AC9 KV, Romy, 27 years. KC5 KYM, Chris at 26 years. N5 Victor Uniform Juliet, that's Roger at 30 years. Anyone with 30 years or less, please come down. All right, one more RF check-in opportunity, and then I'm going over to Echolink, let those people check in. So if you've got over 30 years, 31 plus years, please come with your call sign, your name, and how many years you've been in the hobby.
This is November 5, India, Mike Sierra, JJ in Carrollton with 52 years, if my math is right. Started in 1968.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo, Bill, 51 years. Got my novice license 5 weeks before Apollo 11 landed on the moon.
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, Tom in Irving, 35 years this summer.
W9 Victor Echo, 58 years.
48 years, Atlanta.
This is November 5, Charlie, Sierra Uniform, Rich in Dallas, 55 years.
This is Whiskey Bravo 5, Oscar Zulu Lima, Brendan DeSoto, 45 years.
This is Kilo Mike 5 Lima, and I thought I was old, but now I know I'm not. 43 years, Patrick in Dallas.
All right, let me go ahead and get those check-ins. Great, N5 IMS, JJ, 52 years over in Carrollton. I'm amazed. I didn't think you'd been in the hobby that long, but excellent. N5BB, Bill, 51 years. N5HYP, Tom at 35 years. W9VE, Don at 58 years. And then I had one station that doubled with Don, 48 years. Please come back with your call and name, please.
This is Whiskey 5, Lima Hotel Juliet. The name is Don, and then 48 years.
All right, you were a little scratchy into the repeater. I got Whiskey 5, question mark, Hotel Juliet, Don. Can you fill it out for me, please?
Whiskey 5, Lima Hotel Juliet.
Thank you. Third time's the charm. Whiskey 5, Lima, Hotel Juliet, Don at 48 years. N5, CSU, Rich at 55 years. WB5OZL, Miss Brenda at 45 years. And KM5L, Pat at 43 years. Any others at 31 plus years? Please come now. All right, I know the folks on Echolink have been waiting patiently. So those on Echolink, when you check in, I'm going to give you extra time. Please give me your call sign, your name, and how many years you've been in the hobby. Please come now. Echolink only.
E5, Kilo Echo 5, Tango November Victor. This is J. Paul from Fort Worth. I've been doing this for 12 years, but I've only had an actual radio for about a month.
Kilo India 5, Bravo November Papa. This is Luis in Fort Worth, 2 years.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billy in Sherman, 8 years.
Get 5 RAF, Jared and Addison, 4 years.
All right, I've got KE5TNV, J. Paul, with 12 years. I got KI5BNP, that's Luis with, Luis, was it 12 years, sir? I think that's what I got. One more time, please.
It's only 2 years. KI5BNP.
Well, I cut it off. Just put it in the chat window for me. I just lost it the second time. But I got you in there. I got KF5PDS, Miss Billy at 8 years, and I got J. Paul, W5RAS with 4 years. Excellent. Oh, you said 2 years. Thank you very much. I got something on the back channel there. 2 years for Luis. Good. That's a lot of check-ins. Did I miss anybody? Please come now. This open check-in. Your name, or your call sign, your name, and how many years you've been in amateur radio. Please come now.
Alpha Alpha 5, Alpha Hotel, Robert, 2.5 years.
Kilo Bravo 5, Romeo X-Ray Lima, Mark in Garland, 28 years.
W5FT.
I wasn't sure if there were others there or not. We'll come back to you in a little bit. That's very healthy check-in. This is always a popular net. By the way, this serves as our a record of people for our regular meeting. You normally would have traveled to the Dallas Medical Center for this, so very healthy turnout. Glad to have you all here. I put you in different orders because I want to ask questions, as I mentioned earlier, and hopefully if you don't volunteer, I will volunteer you and ask the same question of different era individuals. Somebody at 4 years might or might not have a different experience how they got into amateur radio than somebody would say like Mark with 28 years. So that's the kind of thing I want to try and do tonight. But the first thing I'll do is I'll let you volunteer. Who would like to talk about how they got into amateur radio. If it's a particularly interesting story, not to say that all of the stories aren't interesting, but if you got something that's pretty cool about how you got into the hobby and you'd like to talk about it, please come with your call signs now.
November 5, Bravo, Bravo.
Kilo Mike 5 Lima, but I'm sure it won't be as good as Bill's.
November 5, India Mike Sierra.
All right, never fear. We will take additional on that one, how you got involved in amateur radio. So I've got N5BB Bill, KM5L Pat, and N5IMS JJ. These are all senior folks who've been in this hobby for a long time, so I'm going to make them do it the hard way. Bill, tell your story. When you're done, send it to Pat, KM5L, and Pat, when you're done, send it to N5IMS. JJ, and JJ, when you're done, send it to Tom, that's me, KE5ICX. Here we go. N5BB, go ahead.
Okay, this is N5BB. My story starts when I was 9 years old. And I was stuck at home, just like we are right now. The reason I was stuck at home was I had scarlet fever, which is a very serious disease, which is now kind of rare, but it was in the early 60s. This is 1963. It was still around quite a bit in the U.S. fever. And so I was stuck at home for a month. Serious disease. And my dad brought, he knew I kind of had vague interest in science and different things. He brought me some electronics books. And one of them was a General Electric transistor book, or semiconductor book. This is 1963. This is pretty early semiconductor stuff. So I didn't understand a lot of it, but I read through some of it. I kind of got interested in that, just this vague long-term interest. This is 1963. Jump ahead a few years. I was in high school, and I had been interested in radio, and my dad had borrowed some radios from friends of his, some shortwave receivers, and even borrowed for me to use. And he even borrowed one of the Amico 33 RPM code records. Unfortunately, the instructions were lost. So all I had was this code record spitting out this code. I couldn't make hide nor hair of it. And he even borrowed one of the... But I had interested in electronics. I was interested in radio. I just didn't know how to get started in amateur radio. I knew it existed. So, my mom knew I was interested in that, and she saw I was living in Austin. That's where I grew up, in the Austin American Statesman, and in the newspaper for a club that Explorer Scout post that was opening up. My mom knew I was in, and it was going to be meet at the Austin airport. This is the old Mueller Terminal, and it was going to be involved with amateur radio and weather. And it turned out to be about 99% amateur radio, and the only weather association was we had to walk past the Weather Bureau people and their teletype machines to go into our meeting room. And it turned out to be about 99%. And so I went over there, and some other kids from my high school ended up going there, and I don't even know if we knew each other. I think most of us didn't really know each other very well. But we showed up over there, and Joe Fisher, K5EJL, was our Elmer. And in less than 2 weeks, or no more than 2 weeks, he taught us 5 words a minute Morse code with a straight key. And the meeting room was on the second or third floor of the control tower. So this is one of the old terminal buildings. The control tower was part of the building, and so we would go over and climb the stairs up to that second or third floor. We had a key we could get. We opened the door up. There was a small room, and the room had another door that opened up out onto the roof of the control building, the roof of the terminal building. So beneath those was American Airlines, United Airlines, and all that stuff. And we put our antennas out on the top of the terminal building at the Austin Mueller Airport, with the people in the control tower right above us. And we had old Super Pro receiver. And we had, I believe, a DX35 kit transmitter initially, with the people CW Morse code. Crystal control. And we had, that's my story about how I got into amateur radio, inside BB. Pro receiver. And we had, I believe, a DX35 kit transmitter initially, with the CW Morse code.
Bill's, he's so old, he can't follow instructions.
Story about how I got into amateur radio.
Thanks for your info there, Bill. I am going to talk about my beginning, my meager beginnings. It started Kilo Mike 5 Lima, Patrick in Dallas, and let's see, it was 1976. I was 15 years old, not quite turned 16 yet. Info there, Bill. And talk about my family. We all lived in Denison, Texas. We were on our way to a wedding. I don't know why I remember this, but just the events kind of come together. And on our way, literally on our way out the door, we got a phone call. And my dad had been a ham, unbeknownst to me up until that time. Before, like when he was in the Navy and early on our way to a wedding. And he got a phone call that so he was just, my dad getting really angry on the phone call, and he was just before exasperated and getting more and more animated. And he got a phone call that he was just, so really angry on the phone call. Dad, I just said, Dad, after he was done. What he gets upset about, or something like that. And he said, well, somebody was bootlegging my call. So I had no idea what he was talking about. So someone apparently was bootlegging my dad's call, which at the time was Kilo 5 Oscar Hotel Lima. I later affectionately called that Kilo 5 Old Hairy Legs. But nonetheless, he explained to me what bootlegger meant, what the radio was all about, and the next thing you know, I'm getting really excited. My eyes lit up to call 15-year-old. So he finds a local ham there in Denison, calls Kilo 5 Delta Uniform Echo, what the radio was all about. And so we go over there, and this guy's Ken. Ken is his name. And he takes us back to his shack, which is a shed out back there, a little house out back. Delta Uniform Echo. What the radio was all about. And we go in there, and that was just like an amazing set of racks of Collins S-line gear. Just, literally like if you took a picture, like the logbook used to have, you took a picture and put it in the magazine, you'd never seen such a beautiful setup of radios, gray color, just, had the smell, and then heat up that transmitter and everything. It just seemed like there was, at my early age, it seemed like literally 1,000 relays went off at one time, and then, a little smoke or seemed like smell like little smoke, but nevertheless, at 15, it really impressed me. So, I began to study crazy quickly for codes, which was required back then, and got to 5 words a minute, and actually it was Ken, that same ham, he gave me the test. I began to study. Then about a week, and I did pass it, and you had to wait. That was hard to do. Wait for the mail. And in the meantime, Dad brought home a Hallicrafter SX-16. Then, right? Yeah, SX-16. Or was it a 12? Anyway, I think it was SX-16. It had not SSB. Dad didn't realize that SSB had made its appearance. bless his heart. But I did get, head of BFO, so you can kind of do some things then. So that's kind of how I made my start, and Dad realized that Kilo Mike. Oh, I've almost messed up like Bill did. Bless his heart. So I'm going to pass it over to 5 IMF. JJ, this is Kilo Mike 5. I made my start, and Dad realized that Kilo Mike. Oh, I've almost messed up like Bill did.
Well, let's see, my story started back in grade school. And basically, we were just kids. My dad was an engineer, so we had kind of a technical background, but he was mechanical engineer and did a bunch of stuff in the home grade school to help the income. So we kind of didn't see him a lot. My dad was an engineer, so we had we're just down in there in the basement, running in there, and he'd shoot us off so he could do his mechanical drawings and stuff that he did. But help the income. So we always had a bunch of kids over. Everybody had basements, so we had board games set up. And one of the kids, 2 doors down, all of a sudden had a huge antenna built on their roof. Everybody had basements. So we had board games set up. Me with an interest in radio and stuff. 2 doors down. I went over there and asked him, what's your antenna? And well, he got a CB, had a big CB antenna on his roof. And, he showed me all about it. Got in there, and he'd already started collecting QSL cards from CBers, and got that. And so we got in there, and he kind of helped me CB antenna on his roof. Turned my interest in radio. Let me reset. Got in there, and he'd already started collecting QSL cards, so CBers, and got that. A year or so later, I got a present of a night kit, a night star rover, a several tube shortwave radio, and my dad and I built it, although he made sure that I did most of it. If there was anything I needed, he would help me out. But we got it built. It actually worked. So I set it up in the little storage space up underneath these stairs into the basement. And had a little sign on the door that said my ham shack. And so went in there and was listening all over the world to the shortwave station and things around. So that kind of helped turn my interest. Well, we moved from Illinois into Maine for a year, and a friend of the kid next door, or across the street, was a ham, and so we kind of got back in and we were talking and doing stuff, but we only stayed there a year, so I never really was able to do things. And then he got a new job in New Orleans, so we moved down to New Orleans. And there was a big field day event. But we only stayed there a year, so I never really. One of the local ham clubs, the Jefferson Amateur Radio Club, which is W5 Guys and Dolls. They had a big event out, field day event, the park that they also had their station in. And it was called Remember Betsy, because Betsy was a hurricane that happened a few years before that was basically almost as bad as Katrina, but it was the reason why they got the levees and everything around the river and the lakes to help keep the flooding down. So it was a big deal, and that kind of got me an in with the radio club. And a few weeks after field day, they had a novice training class. So I took the training class, learned the code, and took our tests there, and got licensed as a novice at a young age of about 15 in 1968. So kind of where I started, and of course at that time the novice expired and was non-renewable, so about the time I had to do something, I went in and got my technician, which of course unfortunately at that time the novice expired. The technician was VHF and up, and the novice was HF CW, so there wasn't too much, but I graduated high school, which of course unfortunately At that time, the novice expired. The technician was VHF and up, and the novice was HF CW. So there wasn't too much. But I graduated high school, which of course, unfortunately, at that time, the novice expired. The technician was VHF and up, and the novice was HF CW. So there wasn't.
Uh-oh. N5IMS, JJ, are you still there from KE5ICX?
Yeah, I'm still here. Did I time it out?
No, but you cut off in mid-sentence about 30 seconds ago, so we didn't know what happened. So your final comment or what before you drop carrier?
Did I time it out? The timeout timer may have gotten. It's kind of the beep doesn't always make a loud of a beep. But basically, I'll end up in there where I was a novice, and the novice was soon to expire. And of course, at that time, the beep doesn't. The novice was only good for either 1 or 2 years. I don't remember which at the time. But then you were expected to move on to technician or general. I was there on CW at 20 words a minute at that time, talking to the head of the FCC office in New Orleans, who that was one of his things that he loved to do was to help mentor the novices. So they always hung out on the novice bands on CW and tried to encourage them to upgrade their licenses. And he said, well, we're talking 20 words a minute. You should be able to come down and pass your 13 pretty easily. So that kind of put the bug in my ear that, all right, maybe I should. So I went down there and sat down and arrived 5 minutes late for the 13-word-a-minute test. But fortunately, they had a 13-word-a-minute test, a 20-word-a-minute test, and another 13-word-a-minute test later. So I missed the first 13-word-a-minute, but I was able to sit out front and copy during the 20-word-a-minute and got that fairly solid. And then went in for the 13-word-a-minute test, and when it actually mattered, I got 2 or 3 words, and then nothing. The mind went blank, and I could copy no code at all. So I kind of went around and was disappointed because I couldn't do anything else at that point. And one of the people my dad worked at, he was a general, so he was able to give me my technician test. And so was able to get on there and get in doing 2-meter FM and helped with build up some of the repeaters and things they have in New Orleans. So we managed to help build the infrastructure down there. So kind of fun. Probably went off long enough, so I'll get off and send it down this N5IMS and helped with build up some of the repeaters and things they have in New Orleans, so we managed to help build.
Well, very good. Thank you, JJ, and thank you for the comments. I think that's pretty cool about the FCC guy coming in and encouraging new hams, novices to get in there and upgrade before they lost their license. Thanks very much. That was an excellent story. Let me acknowledge 4 other check-ins real quick. I've got KA5TXL, that's Larry. He's over really on Facebook, and I know he's one of our guys. 36 years, KA5NSX, Reed Kruger. I believe you're in around 14 years, may not be looking to be gone. The son of Bill Kruger, who's a great buddy of mine, now a silent T. KE5OYT, David, at 12 years. KE5QHQ, Jonathan, at 8 years. And he says something about PETA. I'm going to have to ask him about that. Let's see. I am going to stop now. Bill Kruger. I was supposed to, on the first round of check-ins, to send it back to Bill, KF5ZBL, when the word was given. The word is given. Bill, KF5ZBL, I think you have a special presentation from KE5ICX, and that is yours. I am going to stop now. Bill Kruger. I was supposed to, on the first round of check-ins.
Yes, Tom, I have a special presentation tonight.
When the word was given. The word is given.
So, Bill, makes it appropriate to give you a special presentation. So with that,
from KE5ICX, and that is yours.
You know, once a year, we nominate somebody for the With and Griffith Award. Is that right? With and Griffith Award. We're doing outstanding community service and stuff like that. So I have a nomination that was presented at the January club meeting and February club meeting. February club meeting, and it was approved back in February, and so we present this in April. Unfortunately, I can't present this in person. I would really like to, because this person really deserves this award. And so I have to do it on the air, because we have to do it in April so it gets into the May newsletter. So with that, I'm going to read the nomination. Everybody should know who this is by the time I finish it, but here we go. And so I have to do it on the air. This person has been a member of the Dallas Club for several years and a member of other clubs around the Metroplex. He's also a very active member with AMSAT and volunteers lots of his time for the organization. He is the go-to guy when you need those special satellite points for your contest. He is always happy to do it. He does this with ease and does it well. He is always eager to teach others how it's done. Whether you're a ham operator or someone from the general public, not only is he in satellite parts when you need those special big in satellites, he is always happy to do part of ham radio, but is very active with the Boy Scouts of America. He has mentioned several scouts on ham radio, and even gets them on the air through events such as JODA and others. Along with this mentorship, he also trains them for the Radio Merit Badge. He carries on classes around the Metroplex. With all his volunteerism, he demonstrates an extraordinary contribution to the general and or race amateur communities. Community award. So the 2020 Whitman and Griffith Award goes to with all his volunteers, Tom Schlussler, N5HYP. Tom, if you're out there, would you like to say something? N5HYP, the 2020 recipient of the Whitman and Griffith Award from the DARC Club. KFSW. With all his volunteers, Tom Schlussler, N5HYP.
KF5ZBL, this is N5HYP. Hold on a second. There we go. I had to turn around down my crossband. I'm blown away. I had no clue. So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. And it's a lot of fun. It's a free to be recognized. I appreciate it. Thanks very much. N5HYP back to the net. I'm blown away. I had no clue.
Kilo Mike 5, leave a comment on that.
So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it. And
1 second on the comments, N5HYP, we have a plaque for you. It's already done. I think James or Randy has it. So next time we get together, we'll give you the plaque and everything like that. So KM50, go ahead.
So thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Tom's a really great guy, and I've enjoyed watching and helping in a little way that I could, just out of curiosity, and just was really impressed with all that he does. But I wanted to point out something that was missed or was not pointed out before, perhaps his greatest contribution to his fellow man. And I know that he is involved in feeding homeless, or at least providing directory resource information for homeless services in Dallas, and missed or was not that there can be no greater good than that. And I just would really like to say what an honor for Tom to get this, and I just like to throw that in the golden pot that he represents. Providing Kilo Mike information for homeless services in Dallas, and missed or was not that there can be.
Well, thank you for those comments. With that, once again, congratulations, Tom, and I'm going to send it back to the other Tom in here tonight. Full-timer site, KFSW.
For homeless services in Dallas, and missed or was not that.
Very good, and thank you you, Bill, and thank you, Tom, N5HYP, for your service and your contributions to amateur radio. Don't leave the radio yet, because you get the next seat. Tom, N5HYP, how did you get involved in amateur radio? The net is yours. Very good, and thank you, Bill, and thank you, Tom, N5HYP, for your service and your...
Whoops, hold on. This is N5HYP. Well, I got involved in amateur radio. I was interested in radio and in broadcasting, actually, as a young child. That always fascinated me. And I think when I was in grade school in Cub Scouts, there was a guy came through and he did a presentation on citizen band radio. And, I thought that was pretty impressive, but, and I knew people in high school who were hams, but it just never really, I never got around to getting my license until I moved to Austin in 1984. And he did a presentation on citizen band radio. And then in 1985, I decided to jump in and take the test. And the cool part was Bill Byram, N5BB, was one of the earliest volunteer examiners in the Austin area. And so I took my novice test, and he was one of the BEs. And so somewhere along the line, nobody knows where anymore, but there is a picture of that floating around. But then, after a couple years after that, I got my technician and general in advance. Actually, we moved to California. Then, in '94, I moved back to the DFW area in Irving, and one day heard this call sign on the air, and I went, I know him. And he was surprised because, and so we got to kind of rebuild that connection. It's been an enjoyable hobby, and I like the satellite stuff. It's a lot of fun. I'm part of the AMSAT Ambassadors program. So back to that from N5HYP.
W5FC.
And so we got to kind of rebuild that connection.
Thank you, Bill, and again, congratulations. This is KE5ICX. I'm alternate net control this evening for the Old Timers Net, where we talk and have stories about about amateur radio and things that are going on. So I'm going to ask one other person about how they got into amateur radio, and then we'll try some funny stories, something that you thought was pretty hilarious that happened in amateur radio. So I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to ask, is W5WXY, we're Andy, you have the least amount of time in amateur radio, half a year. Randy, if you're still there, you want to tell us how and why you got involved with amateur radio. W5WXY from KE5ICX, amateur radio. So I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to ask, is W5WXY, we're Andy, you have the least amount of time in amateur radio, half a year. Randy, if you're still there, you want to tell us how and why you got involved with amateur radio. W5WXY from KE5ICX, amateur radio. So I'm going to take a chance.
The reason I got into it was that we had somewhere without power, without radio. Brendan in the neighborhood, who's also logged in tonight, Rich Casey, convinced me that I need to be a ham so that I'd be keeping up with it. And so he's also become my Elmer, and he's given me a couple radios, and I've got a long ways to go. We've also been instrumental, and we started a little club over here in White Rock that some of the other guys that logged in tonight also belong to, and including the new members for DARC, Melissa and Esther. They're all doing our club radio, so it's just been a great opportunity to meet a lot of fine people. We've also been and my only other background that I had any kind of radio was the CB radio back in the 70s, so all this is pretty new to me. Thanks a lot for letting me share. W5WXY. It's just been a great opportunity to meet a lot of fine people.
Well, thank you, Randy, and it's great to know that there are still Elmers out there that are helping people at any age, and that's fantastic. I think that's great. And I also had an Elmers, actually, the Ford Motor Company Amateur Radio Club. I used to work at Radio Shack over in West Dearborn. There's an East Dearborn and a West Dearborn, and Ford Motor was in between, the world headquarters of the Glass House. And 6 or 8 guys would come over from the Amateur Radio Club there and come to my Radio Shack store that I worked at and buy all sorts of components. And I had to be there because you had to write all that stuff up on its own. And they tried like mad to get me into amateur radio. I thought it was real cool when they had handy talkies with DTMS on them, and that you could talk on the telephone using one of these radios. And I thought that would be cool, you know, like check magnet. Well, I got a car, and then after that I kind of went with the car thing for about 30 years and got back into it 14 years ago. So they tried to learn a little bit of Morse code, and I actually applied that a bazillion million years later for the 5 words per minute on element 1. Nothing like 13 or 20 words, but it was fast enough for me and apparently for them, so whatever that means in the scheme of things. Okay, all right, funny stories or humorous stories, or if you want to talk about how you got into amateur radio, that's fine. In fact, I'll open it up for anything. Anybody would like to tell a story, that's what Old Timers Night is about. Please come now with your call sign, and I'll put you on the list. Or if you're checking in. Is that a lot of wars? Yeah, it is. If you got a story or you'd like to check in, come now with your call sign, your name, and if it's first time, tell me how many years you've been in. Or if you want to talk about how you got into amateur radio,
W5LHJ.
I'll open it up for anything. Anybody would like to tell a story, that's what Old Timers Night is about. Please come now with your call sign, and I'll put you on the list. Or if
November Tango 5. Tango 5.
Wars? Yeah, it is. If you got a story or you'd like to check
November 5, Charlie Sierra uniform.
If it's first time, tell me how many years you've been in. Or if you want to talk about how you got into amateur radio,
W5LHJ.
I'll open it up for anything. Anybody would like to tell a story, that's what Old Timers Night is about. Please come now with your... All right, everybody's coming in threes tonight. That's great. Okay, now listen up. This is important, guys. This is a relay. W5LHJ. Don, you have the first story. Please hand it over to NT5TM. That's Tony. He'll tell the second story. And then, Tony, you'll hand it to N5CSU, Rich. And then Rich will handle it to me, Tom, KE5ICX. Let's get started. Don, you're up. From KE5ICX. Guys, this is a relay.
W5LHJ, Don.
You have the first
and
story.
don't want to go into a long story, but I want to give credit to the Dallas Amateur Radio Club because through classes and instruction at the DARC back in 72, 73, classes that I got my knowledge in general and advanced my story, but that's as far as I got. But I remember Jim Haney and Rick Hall were giving the classes. So they're both gone now, but still hanging on. Classes and I started in radio was in the Army Air Corps, but came to U.S. Air Force and they sent me to radio school and taught me to be a high-speed radio operator. I think it was 25 or 30 words a minute. So I never forgot the code. I remembered that, but I didn't use it. I was 17 when I went to radio school, and I was like 42 or 3 when I went to the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. So that's my story, or a little bit of it, and I want to, on Old Timers Night with the DARC, I want to mention the influence of the club in my life. That's all for me, and I missed the next call sign, but so on to the next, that's our story, or a little bit of it, and I want to, on Old Timers Night with the DARC, I want to...
Hey, I was next. This is Tony, NT5TM. Thank you, Don.
The influence of the club in my life. That's all for me, and
I got into amateur radio. I have 2 short stories why I got into amateur radio and why I stayed. Old Timers Night way back in 2008 was the first thing I ever did where I ever saw another amateur radio operator who... Hey, I was next. This is Tony. That's another story. Thank you, Don. Had a bad neighbor years ago.
it was really weird. I saw a presentation on Atwater Kent radios and heard Whit Griffith speak, and I thought, wow, I want to stay on this club. So I guess this worked. I was always kind of a strange little kid, you know, one of the smart ones. I played with toys and built little space stations out of Legos, and I always liked antennas. We'd be walking around the neighborhood, you know, walking the dog, and I'd see different people's TV antennas, and I'd wonder why they were different. And way across the cornfield, a local TV station had its radar antenna, and they didn't have a radome. It was a big, huge dish, and I would watch it turn in circles over and over again and wonder why it did that. And man, why are antennas different sizes? And then there was this cool thing. I think they called it TV View. It was a few cable channels that included HBO. That was the best one, but it wasn't cable. It was microwave relay from downtown Milwaukee. You had to get a special antenna put up on your house, and you had to point just right. And I wondered why that was a different size. Man, why are antennas different sizes? And then there was this cool thing. I think they called it TV. Well, yeah, I've wanted to learn more about antennas since I was about 6, and I don't know why. I'm just wired that way, and now I'm living that dream. I can learn more about antennas. I've got an antenna book right there on the shelf. Anytime I want to, I can reach out and pick it up. Why I've stayed, though, has not really been the antennas. It's like, man, I really like hanging out with smart people. It is so much fun. So this is my thank you for, you know, my fellow operators for being in the hobby for 12 years. Not any particular not any particular Elmer in the hobby, but just a thank you to everybody. It is your courtesy and intelligence and willing to share what you know that has helped me enjoy this hobby and has kept me active in it and why I enjoy being a part of it. So,
W5FT.
So this is my thank you for, you know, my fellow operators for being in the hobby for 12 years. Not any particular time out. Antennas got me in, but you're the reason I stay. NT5TM. But just a thank you to everybody. Also, we have an ISS test coming up in 5-ish minutes at 8:19 p.m. 8:19 p.m. Enjoy this hobby and has kept me active in it and why I enjoy being a part of it. So,
W5FT.
you might want to head outside and look up NT5TM to Rich, N5CSU. Rich, you were next. Time out. Antennas got me in, but you're the reason I stay. NT5TM.
Thank you, Tony. N5CSU, a neighbor, NT5TM. I got licensed in 1964 when I was a kid, and I had already learned the Morse code on my own. We grew up in Chicago, and my dad got this big radio. It was a 78 RPM, I guess, and 33 RPM turntable with the AM. It didn't have FM, but it had short waves. And I started listening to it, and then I'd hear these guys talking and thinking, this is pretty cool. They got call letters and everything. So everything was AM back then, so you could actually listen to it. So I learned the Morse code on my own in 7th and 8th grade, just playing around. I joined the high school radio club and got my novice, and then got my tech about 11 months later. Got my general in 76, and it took 50th year of amateur radio. I finally got my extra. But I've loved radio since forever. And 2 of my best QSOs I ever had were in Chicago with 2 different WLS, the big 89 AM station in Chicago, rock and roll station, where I met Clark Weber, W9 GHM, Good Humor Man, and also Ron Riley. And I can't remember his call sign. So, but I paid it back because after moving down here, K5HTK helped me get a job at E-Systems, where I spent the rest of my career. E-Systems radio. But I helped another radio guy named John Rohde, who you may remember from the zoo. I helped him get his novice and his tech license. He used the repeater out at the E-Systems whenever he leave the morning zoo on the way home to call his wife. So we were good friends. I kind of lost touch, and he is in Fort Worth now, actually running a low-power FM station. So you might hear his melodious voice right there. So that's it from here, and back to you, Tom. KE5ICX and 5CSU in the net. He used the repeater out at the E-Systems whenever he leave the morning zoo on the way home.
Well, thank you, Rich. That's really a fascinating story. I enjoyed the heck out of that. Well, they're all interesting. We always get new ones every year, and I really do enjoy doing this, even when it's not a net. We really have some interesting things that go on. And by the way, this is usually the most attended meeting of the year for the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Everybody said that swinging from the rafters, we get so many. This is KE5ICX, and I'm in control for the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting at home. Yeah, the meeting at home. I'll take additional, anyone who'd like to check in and tell a story, please come now with your call sign, your name, and if this is your first time check-in, let me know how many years you've been in amateur radio. Please come now to the Dallas Amateur Radio Club. Everybody said that swinging from the rafters, we get so many. This is KE5ICX, and I'm in control for the Dallas Amateur Radio Club meeting at home. Yeah, the meeting at home. I'll take additional, anyone who'd like to check in. Oh, man, you guys aren't, you're going to make me call on you. All right, well, I think I short-shifted W9DE last year. That stands for W9 Very Elderly. He told me that himself. Don, at 58 years, Don, run to the radio, tell us a story that we haven't heard before. I know you've got more. You've told me you have more. W9DE from KE5ICX. Make me call on you. All right, well, I think I short-shifted W9DE last year. Sure enjoyed it so far. Stands for W9 Very Elderly. He told me that himself. Don, at 58 years, Don, run to the radio. Tell us a story that we haven't heard before. Tell you a story. You've told me you have more. W9DE from KE5ICX.
No, I don't really have too many good stories. Sure enjoyed it so far. One of the things, this kind of involves nature as well as ham radio. Shortly after I got licensed and got my general, we lived out in the sticks, a long way out, and I decided I needed a rotatable beam antenna. So I got some plans, and I built what was called a cubical quad, and it covered 20, 15, and 10 meters. And the thing about the cubical quad is this had two elements, and each element was a whole wavelength. So the 20 meters, obviously it was something like 64 feet around, and it had to be spread out on 4 bamboo poles. Bamboo up in Indiana was kind of hard to come by, and it was pretty wimpy compared. Well, anyway, you don't want to hear all that. So basically, I needed a tower, so I got a power company who gave me I think they called it a blackjack pole, a pole that had been pulled out of service. I got a guy from a wrecker company to put it up. I dug the hole, but there's no way I could get that thing in there, so the wrecker guy came out, and a lot of grunting and groaning and foul language. He finally dropped it down in the hole. So I put my quad on top of there, and so it's got a 10 meter, a 15 meter, and a 20 meter full wave. There's 60, 45. There's probably I don't know, maybe 160 feet of wire in each side of it. The side that had the coax cable was the driven element, and so I didn't have quite that much coax cable to do it right, so I ran it down from the side of the pole through the brick up about, 7 feet or something like that, to my shack in the garage. And the end was just hanging there. There was a ground on the tower, but there was no ground on the wire. So it was during the winter, and I was messing around in my shack, and I heard this cable to do it right, so I ran it down. And what it was the end of that feed line that went up to the 160 feet of water.
Repeater, timeout, 4:15 seconds.
There was a ground on the tower, but there was no ground on the wire. So it was during the winter, and I was messing around in my shack, and I heard this cable to do it right, so I ran it down. And what it was the end of that feed line that went up to the 160 feet of water.
Repeater, timeout, 4:15 seconds.
There was a ground on the tower, but but there was no ground on the wire. So it was during the winter, and I was messing around in my shack, and I heard this able to do it right till I ran down. And what it was the end of that feed line that went up to the 160 feet of water.
Repeater, timeout, 4:15 seconds.
There was a ground on the tower, but there was no ground on the wire. So it was during the winter, and I was messing around in my shack, and I heard this able to do it right till I ran down. And what it was the end of that feed line that went up to the 160 feet of water.
Repeater, timeout, 4:15 seconds.
There was a ground on the tower, but there was no ground on the
Timeout, timer, reset. Repeater, enabled.
And that's my story, W9VE. Well, I thanked you, Don, and it was so titillating because you got to the very best part, and the repeater said, "Nah, you're not allowed to." So what happened after you heard popping noise, and then what happened from KE5ICX?
W5FT.
Enabled.
Well, you missed the best part. The scariest part. I wanted to see how long the sparks could get because it was sizzling on the coax connector, you know, the 259, and it was sizzling on the concrete. The sparks were radiating around, and the repeater said, so I got a long-handled wood shovel and lifted it up, you know, gradually, didn't get killed or anything, and got it to where I could make arcs to my actual ground rod outside. The DARC sparks, some of them I wanted to be sure were 8 to 10 inches long, probably on the 10-inch side, and really loud. You know, once it stopped sputtering, the charge could build up a much higher voltage. Bam, you know, it probably would have been legal to actually absorb one of those shocks. So anyway, it gave me a terrific respect for atmospheric electricity, and something I've never really seen before. I've checked insulated antennas during snowstorms since then, and you know, you might get an 1/8-inch sparks, and that was a special storm, and it gave me a lot of respect for Mother Nature. W9VE, bam, you know, it probably would have been legal to actually absorb one of those shocks. So anyway, thank you, Don. I knew you would have a great story, and I believe nearly all of it, and it does not surprise me. And I singled Don out for personal reasons. Don was my first contact, and it was on this repeater, on this frequency, back when I started, and he was the first guy that actually talked to me. I wouldn't even talk on the radio for the first 2 months because I was scared to death. And Don says, "I'll talk to you," and he did. And also, Don and Ginger helped me with Morse code when we did Morse code on the air the first time around that I remember. Well, would be my first time. And they helped me get my 5 words per minute element 1. So thank you, Don, and thank you for the story. I really appreciate that. And he was the first guy that actually talked to me. I wouldn't even talk on the radio for the first 2 months because I was scared to death. And Don says, "I'll talk to you." And he did. And also, Don and Ginger. All right, does anybody have any stories they would like to bring? Please come now with your call sign. And your call sign. Please come now. And they helped me get my 5 words per minute element 1. So thank you, Don, and thank you for the story. I really appreciate that. And he was the first guy that Oh, we're wearing you all down, I think. All right, let me try a couple of more here on the list. Let's see. Carl, N5UOI. Carl, you want to tell us how you got into amateur radio, or tell us a story, something that you thought was particularly interesting about amateur radio that you would like to share. N5UOI from KE5ICX. Thank you for the story. I really appreciate that. And he was the first guy that... Oh, we're wearing you all down, I think. All right, let me try a couple of more here on the list. Let's see. That's okay. A lot of people will leave after a while. We've been at this for
an hour and a half, so I understand. Let's try. Particularly interesting. Hold on. Radio that you would like to share. N5UOI from KE5ICX. Thank you for the story. I really appreciate that. And he was the first guy that. Oh, we're wearing you all down. Let's try KG5OMR. I think that's Melissa. You want to tell us a story about how you got involved in amateur radio? Please go ahead from KE5ICX. People will leave after a while. We've been at this for an hour and a half, so I understand. Let's try. Particularly interesting. Hold on. Radio that you would like to share. N5UOI from KE5ICX. Thank you for the story. I really appreciate that. Uh-oh, they're all running away. Let's see here. Let me try TSK. Let me try TS5. TSK. Burl, you got a story for us. It's a story about how you got involved in amateur radio. Please go ahead from KE5ICX. People will leave after a while. We've been at this for an hour and a half, so I understand. Let's try. Particularly interesting. Hold on. Radio that would you like all to give up? I could do that too. Let me try one more below their burrow is to win. WD5WIN to win. I know you got a good story. If you're still listening about amateur radio and your participation in it, tell us a story from KE5ICX. Please go radio. Please go ahead from KE5ICX.
WD5WIN. Yeah, Tom, I have a short story. Although I've almost completed my first license sequence of 10 years, I actually got my first license back in 1971, got a novice, WN5BJZ, Big Jolly Zebra. And the reason I got that license was because I was in high school, and like all high school kids who didn't have cell phones, I did have CB radio with my buddies. And one of my buddies' dad was an amateur operator. His name was Jack Nadell, WA5ZBO. And I saw this giant antenna on the roof that he had built, and he said, well, if you like CB, you'll love amateur radio. And so he gave me a demonstration of amateur radio, set me up with an Elmer, and I studied and took the test at the Elmer's home and got my novice license back in 1971. Well, that lapsed after 2 years, and I went on to, school and everything, and then, 10 years ago, almost to the day, 10 years ago, Mr. Nadell passed away, and so his son was still a friend of mine, and I went to his funeral, and his son and Mr. Nadell's wife were there, and they said, we reminisced, and they said, well, if you want his old radio equipment, it's been sitting in the bedroom for like 2 years untouched, it's yours if you'd like it, so I took it. I cleaned it all up. It's all tube. It was a pair of Drakes, T4XB and an R4B, and I got them all fixed up and started listening and remembered how much I enjoyed amateur radio, started studying, got my tech license. About 2 weeks later, I got my general license, and about a month later, I got my amateur extra license. So I was really into it and have been ever since. So by his meeting him in life and by his death, I went full circle with ham radio, and here I am today.
All right, thank you, Dwayne. Sometimes that happens, that it becomes part of amateur radio through inheritance. All right, I do have a new question. I'm going to try this out on everyone. Please come with your call sign if you had a family member that was involved in amateur radio and you picked up the hobby after that. Please come with your call sign.
Kilo Mike 5 Lima.
KF5ZBO.
AC9 KB.
Everybody is so orderly tonight. This is wonderful. Evenly spaced fanatics and and perfectly in perfect audio, by the way. So here we go. We're going to start with KM5L. That's Patrick. Patrick, you're going to turn it over to KF5ZBL. That's Bill. And then, Bill, you're going to turn it over to AC9KV. That's Romy. And then Romy will turn it back to me, KE5ICX, Tom. So let's start with Patrick, KM5L. Go ahead.
Well, I already mentioned this on my story earlier, but I did want to chime in on that particular account. So it was my dad, Kilo 5, Oscar Hotel Lima, who mentored me into my amateur radio. Kilo Mike 5 Lima. And Bill, go right ahead. Your turn.
W5FC.
Well, mine goes, that's how I actually got into the hobby. So my uncle, WD5DDA, still alive, and he's 85 years old, sorry, and he's still listening to the W5SC repeater, probably listening to us now, but I put up a radio at his house and it locked it onto W5SC, and I think he keeps that thing on 24/7, I don't know, but anyway. But yeah, because of him, I actually became a ham operator. He's having issues with, his radio and his antennas and stuff like that. So, so I was like, well, I heard that there's no more code, and he says, yeah. And so I was like, okay, well, so I sat and learned, and I got my general, got my tech, and got my general on the same sitting, and then, but because of him. I am a ham operator now, but I helped him fix his radio and fix his antenna and all kinds of stuff. And but I couldn't talk on the radio with him or anything like that unless I had a license. So so I decided to go ahead and get my license. And ever since then, yeah, we've been having a lot of fun. So other than that, KF5ZBL, let's see here, AC9KV, up to you.
Thanks, Bill. Good evening, everyone in the group. My uncle is my mother's brother-in-law. His call sign is Kilo 4 Kilo X-Ray. He's out of Plant City, Florida, which is between Tampa and Orlando, pretty much, just outside of Tampa. And yeah, back in the early 90s, he sent me the Gordon West Get Your Ham Radio License Kit, or whatever you call it. I don't know, but it was the novice. Had the book and the cassette tapes to learn 5 word per minute code. Now I kind of bypassed that. He didn't want me to get the tech. He just wanted me to do the novice reset. But I kind of went on my own thing. I went and got the codeless tech. But I very quickly got the 5 word per minute to appease him and also just because I wanted to go down on 10 meters. Try to talk to him down in Florida from Canton, Ohio. So that's it. It's my uncle, AC9KB.
All right, thank you, Romy, and thank you for sharing that story. All right, we've got a few minutes left. I'm going to see if there are any additional check-ins, and I'm going to call on people again because that's what I do as net control, you lucky people. Anyone else like to join us this evening who has not done so already? Please come with your call sign, name, and how many years in amateur radio that you have with us. I may be wearing everybody down. I've got 2 more I want to talk to for sure. I'm going to try KI5DEC. That's Greg. Greg, you got 2 years with amateur radio. Why did you get into amateur radio? What was the intrigue? Hopefully you're still there, Greg. KI5DEC from KE5ICX. I'm starting to lose people. Okay, let me try KE5YTA. Roger, you got 11 years in. How did you get involved with amateur radio and why? From KE5ICX. They're all drifting away. I'll try one more. KFI-JHA, Chaz, you have 9 years with amateur radio. How did you get involved and why? And did it involve the police from KE5ICX? Oh my, all right, I do have somebody over on Echolink, J. Paul, KE5TNV. He has a story he would like to share. So, KE5TNV from KE5ICX, go ahead. You're the last guy, I think, this evening. Go ahead.
Originally started, this is KE5TNV, J. Paul. Missed most of the net, but I got back after a meeting. I originally started ham radio as I was going to school, and the IEEE department there offered the student version of it offered a credit for your classes by a letter grade if you went and took your test and got your ham radio license. So, being the eager student that I was, I began doing that. My first transmission was via Echolink, and I started using the Kidderminster UK repeater pretty heavily. I also used to broadcast via Echolink in California a lot. But yeah, so those are and I just recently purchased my first ham radio a few weeks ago, because I knew I was going to have some downtime to actually build some things to use it. So now, yeah, so that's my story, and thanks for letting me share. KE5TNV, back to the net.
Okay, well, very good, and glad to hear that, and you got credit for it too. That's even better. Okay, I have another person over on Echolink. I got KFI PBS, Miss Billy over in Sherman. Billy, tell us a story from KE5ICX.
I'll just tell you how I got involved in amateur radio. I remember when I was a kid, I went over to a friend of mine's house, and her dad was a ham, and he had one of the closets in the house. I think it was supposed to be a coat closet, but he had it renovated into a ham shack. And I remember walking by when the door was open, and I was curious about what that was, and she said, Shelly's dad is a ham radio operator, but don't go in there, that's his equipment. And I just, saw it looked like he had a pretty impressive HF rig now that I think back on it, now that I know a little more about what I was looking at. And but I never saw it in action, and so I kind of forgot about it. But when I was in grad school, I was taking a class one summer. It was mathematics and signal processing, and we were doing all kinds of cool math with Fourier transforms and different things like that. And it just really interested me, and it kind of irked me that we didn't have a lab to go with that class. And I even put it in the course evaluation. I said, this class needs a lab where you can actually go and process signals. I said, I'm a little disappointed that we didn't get to do any practical exploration of that. And so I had expressed that to a friend of mine at the time who was a ham radio operator, and that person said, well, it said, after you get to school, at your earliest opportunity, I think you need to explore amateur radio. I think you would learn a great deal from that, and you can explore your interests and apply your knowledge. And so, but that person knew I was really deep in school because I was going for a master's degree at that point, and I later then worked on my doctorate, so I was really busy. And they said, when you get done with school, it's your first opportunity. I really think you need to explore amateur radio. And so after I got my doctorate and got a full-time job, a month after I started my full-time job, they advertised that there was going to be a free technician class. And so I went to that, and it was at my school. So I went to that, and it was the weekend before spring break, and so I learned about it, and I studied.
W5FC.
And then the following weekend, they reviewed, and I got my technician class, and Then later on, I tried for general at the time, but I didn't get it. Then I upgraded to general in November of 2013. So there's my story of how I got involved in amateur radio. It started out with interest in mathematics, and then when I was finally able to, I also got involved with McKinney Club because they were doing some electronics classes with breadboards and such. And now I teach people in my classes when we do truth tables. I show them how to turn them into ones and zeros and do some basic and or gate. So I'm able to involve it in my teaching. So the more I learn, the more I'm able to teach my students. So I've learned to involve it in my life. So I'm very happy with what I've learned so far and look forward to learning more, and always enjoy the events that we do. So that's how I got involved in amateur radio. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5PDX. Back to Matt. Happy with what I've learned so far and look forward to learning more, and always enjoy the events that we do. So that's how I got involved.
And thank you, Miss Billy. I appreciate those stories because I think that pretty much sums it up with all of us involving with amateur radio. There's always a common denominator, and I think Tony mentioned it, NT5TM as well. You like hanging around with smart people, and I think there's a lot of smart people in this hobby. I've enjoyed it. My 14 years now. It's hard to believe it's been 14 years already. I got into it relatively late compared to some of you, but I'm glad I'm here, and I'm glad I've had this opportunity to meet a lot of you folks that we've talked to on the radio today, and those you've yet to meet. It's a cool hobby. It's an unusual hobby, but it's a fun and challenging hobby, and I think that's one of the greatest things about it. It keeps me coming back to it on the radio today. And those you've yet to meet. It's a cool hobby. Before I send it back to our net control this evening, which is Bill, our president, I'll ask if there are any final comments you want to make before before the feature presentation is over. Anybody have any final comments about amateur radio they'd like to bring? Please come down with your call sign. Bill, our president, I'll ask if there are any final comments you want to make before before the feature presentation is over. Anybody have any final comments about amateur radio they'd like to bring? Please come down with your call sign. Bill, our president, I'll ask if there are any. Okay, I want to thank you. I had a lot of fun this evening. I'm going to send it back to Bill if he has any final comments or any final housekeeping he has to do for the net this evening for the club. This is an official meeting this evening, which is probably a first for all of us because of this shelter-in-place thing that we're all going through. So to keep us legal, as a 501c bill, KF5ZZL, I return the net to you from KE5ICX because of this shelter-in-place thing that we're all going through. So to keep us legal,
KE5ICX, KF5ZZL. Well, Tom, thank you so much for that. That was very entertaining. Thanks for everybody's comments and stories and everything else. That was always good and always fun, and we always, enjoy that every April. So, our next club meeting, we are waiting on the person to see if they're available for our presentation, and if he does a presentation, it might be online. So because he'll have slides and everything, but we're going to talk to him and find out what he'd like to do. So be looking out for that on the W5SC calendar as well as website, and we'll go from there. But yes, the next board meeting will be online, and the next meeting will be online or on the air. I'm not sure yet. So keep looking out for that. Keep a lookout for that. So, other than that, I'm sure. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Everybody will say yes. So with that, this is KF5ZBL for the general meeting on the air. We're out. I'm sure. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Everybody will say yes. So with that, this is KF5ZBL for the